Greetings, fellow humans. I'm MartianBuu, and today I wanted to share with you a deck from each class that I was excited to play on day one of the Sunken City expansion release. A bit of a disclaimer, these decks are not necessarily what I thought would be the most competitive, they are just what I was excited to play based off of the new cards. Some of the decks here I do have some faith in for competitive, but I maybe shoved in some fun cards just because it's release day. So, grain of salt, but here we are. First up, Demon Hunter. This is one of the ones that I think actually got a huge boost. The Naga package is pretty decent. So you have the Vicious Slither Spear here. Scaling 1-drops are really good in Odd Demon Hunter, and this is a pretty good one. Comes to the board with 1 more health than you're typically used to, and you run a ton of spells. So you're going to end up doing extra damage with this just because it's been on the board the turn prior. Predation is a crazy spell. So 3 damage for 3, which is mediocre, but it costs 0 if you played a Naga while you were holding it. And that goes face. That's not 3 damage to a minion. That's just deal 3 damage. So if you're running enough Nagas, this is 0 mana deal 3 a lot of the time. It's also a fell spell, which is important, but I'll get to in a second. So in order to activate Predation, I put in some extra Nagas. I have Crush Claw Enforcer, which is a 3 mana 3/4, and then you get to draw a Naga if you played a spell. We have plenty of spells. This is frequently 3 mana 3/4 draw 1. Potential to get cut later on, but as far as the Nagas that are available to the deck, it's one of the better ones. Lady Stheno, I wasn't super high on this immediately just because you have to have so much extra mana to get this to get a lot of value. But the Predation costs 0, and all of your other spells pretty much cost 1. I was actually able to come back on board a couple of times with this, and I think if I cut down Naga, this one might actually still make the cut just to get 3 Naga for this instead of just the only 2. And then Queen Ashara is mostly in here just because the card is so cool and the expansion is new, but she wasn't that bad. Frequently active on turn 5, and the effects that she gives you are pretty good. Like, I wouldn't necessarily recommend crafting Ashara for this deck, but if you're looking for a way to use Ashara in Wild that isn't that bad, this deck is pretty good. So, Multi-Strike, also a fell spell. 1 mana, +2 attack this turn. Not that amazing on its own, but it lets you hit twice. It says they may attack an additional enemy minion, but it can be in the opposite order. Like, you can hit the minion first and still go face. The only thing you can't do with this is go face twice, which is good because that would be ridiculous. Between Mana Burn and Fury, that's really the only good spells we had for Metamorphin in Odd Demon Hunter before. When I tried Metamorphin before, I used Eye-Beam, and Eye-Beam is not good, just to have a 3rd spell. So we actually have a 3rd good fell spell we can use in this deck to play Metamorphin, and 1 mana 3/4 taunt is really good in an aggro deck, like so nuts. So I think there are enough good fell spells that Metamorphin is now just core to Odd Demon Hunter. That's a big upgrade. Overall, this is a really fun day 1 deck. I was the most excited to play it, and I really didn't stop having fun with it. After I'm done recording and getting this up on YouTube, I'm probably just going to play more of this tonight. So yeah, Odd Demon Hunter, fun deck. Next up, we have Cthulhu Druid. I actually have a video up of this deck already. It's Cthulhu Druid, but it has new cards in it. So this is the big one, Miracle Growth. 7 mana, draw 3 cards, summon a plant with taunt and stats equal to the hand size. This is such a nuts card. It's like, it ends up being an 8/8 or a 9/9 or a 10/10 really easily, and it draws you 3 cards. So it's pressure, it's defensive, it's card advantage. It's really good in decks like this. This for sure, I think, is going to end up in Druid decks like this moving forward. I do have Ajara. Ajara is okay. Again, if you're looking for a place to play Queen Ajara, this is another really good spot to do it. And then Hedra the Heretic, surprisingly not that bad. I was expecting this to be like, I played a few times just because I wanted to play with the new cards, and then I cut it because it's bad. And it still might be cuts worthy, but it was pretty good. Whenever I played this, it filled the board with stuff. And there are some cheap spells in here, but you don't need every single spell that she gives you a minion for to be a high cost one. If you do a few 5s and a 7, it doesn't matter if you hit a 2 and a 0. I think Hedra's better than I was expecting. I don't know that she's optimal in a deck like this, but certainly not bad. So if you wanted to play with this card, pretty good list for that. And something to note, she does cost 7. So for a Dragon Druid list where you're running Juicy Psych Melon, you could almost just shove it in there. It's got the aquatic form too. So this is just kind of 0 mana filter. The higher your curve, the later you kind of want to play aquatic form. So it's not necessarily 0 mana draw 1, but you want to play it on like turn 4 or 5 when you can hit your Oaken Summons and your Guff with it. Really good card, probably going to go in like every Druid deck moving forward. All right, so this is like this is some copium. All right, this is a fun deck. This is not like get to legend, all right? This is, I want to play big beasts and Katharina stuff. What's cool about this is we're running Pet Collector and Guardian Animals alongside the new Azran Saber card. So this puts a Sunken Saber, has the same stats and Rush on the bottom of your deck. But when it dies, it gets a beast out of your deck. So it's like a half-cost Katharina. So your Pet Collector is going to get these, either the Saber or it's going to get you Battle Ram and your next beast costs 2 less. So you can like curve the ram into one of these bigger beasts. Or it gets you Witchwood Grizzly. So 5 mana 3/3 and a 3/12 taunt is pretty good. Then as the game goes later, you can do that with Guardian Animals. But also Harpoon Gun sets up your higher cost beasts to be low enough for Pet Collector and Guardian Animals to pull. You can also get them off of Katharina. You can get them off of the sunken half of this. You can get them with Undasta. You can get them with Leorox. And if you run out of beasts, you can play Deathstalker Rexar and fill your hand with more of them. This deck is only to be played for the fun of it. Do not expect results, but I had fun playing with it, and I did win a couple of games, so there you have it. Next up, Mech. People were really excited for this one, and I think they should be. We got the Mecha Shark, 3 mana 4/3. After you summon a mech, deal 3 damage randomly split among all enemies. So every time you play a mech, after you have this out, you deal 3 damage randomly among all enemies. So you basically just clear your opponent's board and start pressuring their face. This deck is filled with draw and discounts. So you have Book of Specters for draw, Galvanizer, Mech Warper for discount, and now you have Seafloor Gateway for draw and discount. So your mechs cost literally nothing. You play them all alongside a shark, deal a bunch of damage, take the board back, and then if you draw your Enhanced Mechano, you can give everything Wind Fury and Taunt and Divine Shield. I pulled it gold. I wanted to play with it. There's a lot of discounts in here, so theoretically you can get it down. It is not going to make the most competitive list, but if you wanted to play it, you can shove it in like I did. But yeah, it's I think Mage is pretty decent. Probably going to run into trouble with Shaman, but other than that, I think that for the first time in a long time, Mage is going to be a real deck. Speaking of mechs, we have Mech Paladin. So much like Mage, we have draw, discount. That's like the whole deck. We don't have the shark in this one, but we do have Skyclaw, and Radar Detector draws too many cards. Like, how is this? This card is so much draw. 2 mana draw 5 is insane. Because the draw is so good, the discounts are so good, and now we have like Security Automaton to scale by itself. We don't need the hand buff cards anymore. We just go wide. Claw will give everything plus attack while it's out. This thing will get bigger all on its own, and then you can give everything Divine Shield and Taunt. It's both defensive and you can't clear it. So similar, Shaman's going to devolve and freeze this. You'll never win a game against them. But everything else, you have a real chance. Just vomit out a bunch of stats early and pressure them down. I don't have the Colossus in here. I don't have Cariel. I didn't think the games would go that long. I wanted to put them in. I tried them. I just feel like Paladin has to be really low to the ground. There's a real chance that Cariel does make the list, but I just have a hard time believing that we win if the game goes that late. Miracle Priest. All right, this is crazy. This has been a meme deck for a while, but it got a few upgrades this set. So the idea is Gadget Sand Auctioneer, Radiant Elemental, and Embrace the Shadow. So all of your healing spells will deal instead. So you can Desperate Prayer, deal 5, draw a card, Regenerate, deal 3, draw a card, Flash Heal, deal 5, draw a card. The bonuses we get here are additional minion tutors. So before we just had Insight, now we have Insight and Switcheroo. So you're finding your minions a lot easier, and then you can actually cheat out the Gadget Sand Auctioneer and or Radiant Elemental a lot easier with Priestess Valish. You play your Radiant Elemental, play some spells, or the opposite order depending on which spells you have, and then you play Valish, resetting your mana so that you can play the other one. So if you started off with Radiant Elemental, you can then play your Gadget Sand Auctioneer, and if you led with your Auctioneer, you can then play your Elemental. Once you have them both online, drawing through your deck is really fast. The thing about Shadow Visions and Thrive in the Shadows, they're the discover a spell from your deck cards. Not only do they cost 2 mana, which makes them harder to play with one Radiant Elemental, but they also require you to discover. So during the APM turn, it slows you down, and you can potentially miss your kill. So we have like Power Word Shield instead. We have Illuminate instead. I don't know how real this is. It feels like it might be real. It feels like this might be an actual like deck that you might have to start facing on ladder. But it also could be just incredibly ratable. So we'll have to see. All right, next up we have Odd Rogue. So I really want to play with the new Hook Tusk. I pulled it gold. It was one of my Mega Bundle cards, but like it's 8 mana and Rogue for an aggro deck, and it just doesn't feel like it's going to happen. This is Odd Rogue, so we do have a weapon in our weapon deck, but I feel like upgrading to a 3 mana 4/3 weapon is pretty worth it for when you draw this. Battlecry Dredge, if it's a pirate, the weapon and the pirate that you dredge gets +2 attack. This will be a 3 mana 4/3 weapon, which is huge. Your cutting class off of that alone discounted to 1, and if you buccaneered it, it's free. We also got the Fillet Fighter. So 1 mana, 3/1 pirate, deal 1 damage. If you're looking for the downside to this card, I can't find it either. So that's really good. I don't know about Gone Fishing. This is like, it's like worse tracking because you have to combo it, but it's in a class that cares about tracking a lot more than Hunter does. So I think this card's really good. I don't know that it's good for this deck. I'd have to play it more, but tracking's a really solid card, so I think this card's really good. Puffer Fist, ridiculous. 3 mana 3/4, whenever you attack, deal 1 damage. So I don't know if you guys have ever fought against Dreadlord's Bite and Demon Hunter, but attacking and dealing 1 damage as you do on a 3 mana card is pretty good. You stick this, and then if your opponent has a lot of like meager minions, they all die, and it's really hard to come back on board. The other cool one is Cutlass Courier, 3 mana 2/5 pirate. After your hero attacks, draw a pirate. So what you can do is on turn 2, you dagger up, and then you play this the turn following, and it has 1,000,000 health. Your opponent can never remove it, and you get to draw a pirate or 2. So yeah, this is Pirate Odd Rogue. If you've been playing Wild a while, this should be pretty cheap to upgrade with the new cards. You have like a rare that you need to craft, and that's about it. Frog Shaman. So a lot of us were pretty scared of this. I don't know that it's as good as I was afraid it was going to be, but I think Ashara is a decent upgrade to the Frog Shaman still. So the idea is to hit Drekthar, hitting Ashara and Frog. So your nature spells are easier to cast, you're drawing a bunch of cards with your frog, and then your fire spells are going to deal more damage. So this becomes deal 5 to all enemy minions, and this is deal 7, and you have the new Scalding Geyser, which will be deal 4 in Dredge. You rack up a bunch of overload with your Lightning Blooms and Beakers and stuff, and then you hit your opponent with a giant overdraft. This deck existed before, it just used Note Takers instead of this. Having played it a few games, I'm wondering if the Note Takers are actually worth putting back in, at least maybe one of them. But it's pretty early on in the expansion, and I think we're still going to be figuring out what the 30 is for this. But Frog Shaman, Bursty deck. Menagerie Warrior. So, Amalgam of the Deep goes in every tribal deck from now on for the foreseeable future. It goes in Pirates, goes in Mechs, goes in Murlocs, goes in Totems. It's just a really, like, 2 mana, 2/3, discover a minion relevant to your deck is a good card. But what's really cool about it is this is a dragon. This is like the cheapest good dragon of all time. I guess Priest has a better one, but this isn't Priest. So Alex Straza's champion has been dying for cheap dragons for like 1,000,000 years. How old is this card? TGT. 2 mana 3/3 charge is crazy. The problem is all the dragons cost 1,000. But now we have a 2 mana dragon. I tried making Galakron work. I think Galakron Warrior is just a bit too slow. If you're running Amalgam in like Pirate Warrior, you're still at the 1 dragon threshold, which wasn't good enough before, so I don't know why it would be good enough now. But with Menagerie, we can run the Tent Trasher, we can run Circus Amalgam, we can run Nightmare Amalgam, we can run Amalgam of the Deep, and they're all getting buffed bigger and bigger by Ringmaster's Baton. So we Corsair Cash into Ringmaster's Baton, and this will stick around for 4 turns. We're just buffing our hand over and over again. If you have a couple of amalgams, it doesn't matter what your third thing is, as long as it's not this, I guess. So we have this Finley in because it discounts Tent Trasher, and because we're running the Curator. The Curator is in here because I missed the card and it's fun. Do not craft the Curator for this deck, please, unless you really want to. But I do not recommend it. I'm doing it because I like the Curator. But 7 mana for 6 taunt, draw 3 cards isn't too bad. You have so many amalgams in here, it's pretty much always going to draw you 3. Same thing with Watley, ton of amalgams. We're always going to be drawing 3 with that card too. Corsair Cash, newly unnerfed. Hit with Baton a bunch of times. Our amalgams and pirates will have way too many stats, and we can get a big board that way. I would say the real big winner from this expansion is probably Pirate Warrior as far as Warrior goes. It got Amalgam of the Deep, which is really good, and it got a Dredging Pirate that is probably better than some of the worst things in that class. So if you wanted a Warrior deck that's best of the expansion, you probably still go with Questline Pirate Warrior. But if you want to branch out, play something a little bit more silly, and enjoy some Alexstrasza's Champion action, I thought this was really fun. Finally, we have Darklair Murloc. So this is Darklair Warlock. We've cut the Darklair, but the rest of the package is still here. The idea is Sea Devil Stinger, 4 mana 4/2. The next Murloc you play this turn costs health instead of mana. We just got a second giant Murloc, so we had Mutanus for a while. And now we also have Gigafin. So we can play Sea Devil Stinger alongside one of these giant Murlocs and just take a chunk out of our health, which helps power us down to our mountain giants. And what's really cool about Gigafin is you can like cheat out a bunch of stuff and then absorb all of the minions that your opponent had out. So like in addition to Rush on the animated broomstick as a way to kind of make sure that your giants that you cheated out don't have any competition on board, you also have Gigafin, so you can like Sea Devil Stinger to get yourself that last 8 health to have your mountain giants be cheap, and then play a giant Gigafin alongside a couple of molten giants. It's nuts. It is a little memey. It's not a lot memey, I don't think, but it is a little memey. Destroying 8 health real quick with a Sea Devil Stinger really fits what the deck is trying to do. Then you have like your normal Touch and Drain Soul to heal back up if need be, Loatheb and 6 mana Loatheb to finish the opponent off. And then we got Smothering Starfish, which I think is an upgrade in this deck over Showstopper. We were using Showstopper before to unfreeze our minions and push through taunts. Showstopper costs 2, so we would play that, and then we'd have to invest a second card in it for at least 3 mana and sometimes 4. Whereas this, you can just play. So it always costs the minimum Showstopper cost, but it only costs 1 card. This is a fun take on Darklair. I don't know that it's going to be the best version of it that you'll ever see, but I think it's not bad, and it plays a bunch of new Murlocs. Alright, so that was a deck for every class that I was excited to play on day 1. Let me know in the comments what decks you were excited about, if you liked any of these, what of the new expansion decks you'd like me to make a video about in the future. Make sure to like the video, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.